Okay, I hope you can see that okay. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pry these pistons in just a little bit. And you get in here with the pry bar and you just push on a little bit to get these pistons to push back in on the caliper. By doing this, we'll push the piston all the way back in, and we'll be able to check the slide pins at the same time to make sure the slide pins are actually not rusted and causing it to prematurely wear down the brake pads. The way you do that is you push these pistons here back in, and then you just grab the caliper, slide it back and forth, and it should slide back and forth, which it does. We just have to grease it up because it is a little bit rusty. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out those bolts that hold the caliper in place. Just so you know, they're probably 16 or 17 millimeters actually. And break them both loose. And we can take them out by hand. Now if you're taking it out and this piece here is spinning, obviously just hold it with your hand and we'll take it out like this. Same thing up on the top. Exact same thing. Now don't lose these bolts because you are going to need to put these back in there. We'll put them off to the side for now. One thing you never want to do is you never want to let a caliper hang by its hose. So you take a piece of wire like this and just secure it up and out of the way. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the inner, the bolts on the inside that actually hold the mounting bracket onto the vehicle. Those are actually 19 millimeter, just so you know. Extremely tight, so we're going to use a breaker bar. And the breaker bar is basically just going to increase your leverage so you can break these loose. I will add in here that this vehicle is extremely rusty, which is a contributing factor for why they're so tight. Take the mounting bracket off for now. Just relocate that off to the side. And now we're going to take the rotor off. Now sometimes these rotors are a pain in the rear end and they're really rusty on there. You could bang it in the back here to try to knock it off. It doesn't really matter because we're going to be replacing the rotor anyway. So let's tap it a couple times and let's see what happens. Not that bad. Alright, so we'll take this off now. Next thing we're going to do now, we're going to put our rotor back on here and we'll get this thing wrapped up and get the brakes on it. We just slide our rotor back on here I want to point this out. I cleaned this off already with brake cleaner, just so you know. All right, and what I normally do is screw a nut on here just to hold the rotor in place while you're working. It won't move now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our brake pads back on. Okay. Now before we go any further, I just want to show you this here. We're going to lubricate these slide pins right here really well so that everything slides nice and freely. Make sure they go back in the correct locations. Okay. So we are going to lubricate every place that the brake pad touches. We're going to put some grease on there to make everything slide nice and freely. Okay. Now we're going to reattach our mounting bracket back on the car. And we are going to lubricate these bolts because they were extremely rusty coming out. A little never sees goes a long way. Alright, now we can tighten these down, both tight. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our brake pads in. Now remember, when you put the brake pads in, these clips have to be up on top over here. Like this one has got to be up on top. This clip here has got to be up on top because it has to go underneath that little tab right there to pull it back out. So let me do that. And you see how it pulls it? Keeps it out, pulls it out a little bit. That's what you need it to do so it doesn't have that constant drag on the rotor. Alright, so we're just going to leave that right there for now like that. We're going to put our outside brake pad on, the same exact thing. Hook your little tab underneath the piece where it belongs. And see how it pulls back out? That's what you need it to do. Now we're going to take our rotor, our caliper, and we're going to put our caliper back on, and that'll keep the brake pads from pulling back out. Be careful because it is a little bit of a tricky maneuver to do. But before you tighten everything up, make sure your clips didn't pop out. And we catch the bolts that hold the mounting bracket and the caliper. Before you tighten them, you get them both caught. Screw it in as far as you can by hand. Same thing on the top one. and then we can tighten it all up. Nice and tight. Nice and tight. That's it. All right, let me just get my gloves off. I'm going to bring you in. I'll show you what we did. We tightened up our mounting bracket for the brake caliper hardware. I mean the caliper mounting bracket. We made sure our brake pads are in and the clips are hooked on the way they're supposed to be here and on the inside over here. That's it. We're all done. All right. So this side is all done. We're going to go around the other side now, and we're going to do the brakes on the other side, and then we're out the door. All right. Any questions or comments or any advice needed, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.